They want to impose central bank digital currencies, while at the same time, all that they are doing is making people less confident in the monetary institutions.
If you tell everyone everything's going to be a levered bet, you don't have downside, they're going to take shorter term levered bets. And that's inflationary.
Absolutely. That is precisely it. Is that when you have created the perverse incentive that tells everyone that don't worry about absolutely anything, because the central bank has gone from being the provider of liquidity of last resort to being the provider of liquidity of first resort.
Yes.
That is exceedingly dangerous in any shape or form. And the only way in which it ends is with the destruction of the purchasing power of the currency. Obviously, a lot of people actually come out and say, well, the US dollar is not doing so badly relative to other currencies that are as bad or worse in terms of monetary policy than the Federal Reserve. Because a lot of people forget, you and I know, and we've discussed it numerous times, monetary policy is not about who wins. It's about who loses first.
Yes.
Is making all central banks make the same mistakes, thinking that there is no problem because they can continue to support government fiscal imbalances forever, and taking more and more risk and using more and more units of currency to support that risk. And then when it bursts, the one that is sort of least negative in the case, the US dollar, sort of remains relatively better than other fiat currencies. But the citizens of the United States have, in the process, as you have shown perfectly, seen their purchasing power of their wages and their deposits demolished. You know what's the problem is that when you analyze the economy, Keith, you are looking at data all the time.
Yes.
And and what you are not doing is trying to sort of pigeonhole a theory to ignore the data. The data is telling you that something may not be right or that something may be right. The problem of academia and the problem that is filling central banks and the people that are filling central banks is what you read, for example, from Paul Krugman on inflation. They say, we got inflation wrong. But all the models were saying that there was no risk of inflation. So the problem wasn't the models. The problem was that something else happened. What? What are you talking about? The models were a disaster.
It's complete bullshit. That's complete
Exactly.
bullshit. Our model was calling for 8% inflation. We have a monthly inflation nowcast that updates every week.
Yeah.
And when inflation went from 2 to 4 and they called it transitory, we sent notes out to all of Wall Street that we have trillions in assets under management that passed. We're 15 years old. It's not like young Keith anymore, who's just like trying to bark up a tree, people thought. I mean, this is like the real deal. And our inflation nowcast said it was going to go from 4 to 8, and it went to 9. So, like, just to say nobody knew because by design we're not supposed to know. I think that that's a better.
That is the thing, is that basically it's the dishonesty. It's basically saying, well, we have built these allegedly exceedingly complex models that say that everything that government does and everything that government says is good. That's an easy model to make, by the way. And we put a lot of numbers out there and it makes it look very, very complicated. But if you are making an analysis of the risk of inflation or deflation and you ignore completely monetary aggregates, basically it's like making a model on, I don't know, on the next elections based on whether today is going to rain or not. Makes no sense whatsoever. You know? The problem is that the mainstream narrative is built around you cannot even discuss or question what comes from central banks because they know better. That makes absolutely no sense. It's like saying you cannot criticize the government. Of course you can. Of course you can. And of course you can because the track record is atrocious. I mean, the track record of the Fed in predicting inflation, predicting GDP, and predicting unemployment is horrible. So why would you even think of listening to them when they say that inflation is transitory? Furthermore, even so, what the hell does transitory mean when inflation is accumulative? What the hell is that?
Exactly.
What kind of imbecile has to buy the fact of transitory inflation when inflation goes to 4 to 8 and from 8 to 2? That's a 12% increase in inflation. Obviously, now if I gain 10 pounds a year for the next and to the other, I'm not getting any thinner. So the idea. The idea of transitory inflation is so ludicrous. This is the problem. The problem is that central banks have one mandate, which is price stability. That is fake because it's not price stability. 2% per annum increase in inflation is not stability. No? I go to the same example. If I gain 2 pounds every year, this is not going to end up well. No? So the problem, therefore, is that price stability, unemployment. Think about this, Keith. You and I've discussed this a lot of times. People here in Europe or in Japan, they say, well, we should do like the Fed because the Fed has a target of full employment in its mandate. And I say, what does a monetary institution have to have an unemployment target? How on earth do you put together monetary aggregates and liquidity with employment? Oh, more debt is going to create more jobs. Ridiculous, no? So, and you can get now to the extreme where the European Central Bank is including climate change in its analysis of the economy. There you go. There you go. Yeah. It's basically, but the point that I go back to all the time is they want to impose central bank digital currencies, while at the same time, all that they are doing is making people less confident in the monetary institutions. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, leave your comments below, and keep defending freedom. Thank you very much.